guys, welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to be working on putting a board, cutting out a board that's going to fit in this sink or on top of the sink, and it's going to allow us to have some more countertop space because right now there's not a whole lot. So I'm going to use the board that I cut out for the sink, and so it's a little large, so I'm going to have to take some measurements for the outside dimension and the inside dimension, and that way we're going to cut a little lip on it so that board will fit down in the sink. And that won't slide around much. So let's get started on that, and I'll bring you in on kind of the next steps. All right, so the board that I cut out is really a little too wide. It fits, it doesn't fit like on the inside of this little lip. I don't know if you can see it. So I'm going to measure what that is. So right now it's right at 11 inches. So the outer dimension width wide is 11 inches. And then we're going to do the inside measurement, and that is 9 3/4. I'm going to cut it a little small so it'll slide just a little bit, but that'll make it easier to kind of get in and out. So it doesn't get like, you don't have to like force it down in the sink. So the main dimension here is 11, then 9 3/4, and then we'll do the top. Same thing. All right, this is 15. We're right at 15, and then 13. We'll say in 3/4. All right, so we're back at the shop, and this is the plug that I kind of cut out from the sink. And so now we need to make these cuts, and I'm not sure if all of these are really parallel, so I'm just going to start with a straight line on one side. And these have a radius. I'm going to end up cutting a radius in the other one, but we'll do that later. So I'm going to go ahead and start, and we'll just draw a line across, and then we can make sure that we're 90 degrees exactly. All right, now that it's cut down to size, I have to do the radius. So it's a 5.5, or it's a 5.5 inch diameter. It's a 2 3/4 inch radius when I went and measured it. Did that off camera, and my Gorilla Tape here is really close to the same same diameter. So I'm just going to use this to measure the radius out to cut. It's not precise, but it's close enough. If you wanted to be good at it, if you had like a compass or a like a hole template. I used to have one that was a sheet. It was like a plastic sheet that had different hole diameters in it, and you could use it to trace, but I don't know where that is. So anyway, so right now we're just going to cut these 4 off. So then I'll have the kind of the finished top part of it, and then we just have to chip out the bottom, and we're gonna use this router bit. So let's go ahead and get the jigsaw, and then we'll cut these rounded edges off. Okay, so now I have my sander out, and the problem with using a jigsaw for something this thick is that the blade, when you're starting to turn, it kind of flares out a little bit. That's kind of exaggerated, but then, you know, the radius on the bottom is not the same as the top, and I left myself about a couple of millimeters extended from the line, so then I can use this sander and get it down. So I'm going to put it on this plate, and then the sander, and that is the disc is exactly 90 degrees. So then I'm just going to like sand it down and sand up to the line, and it'll be a nice curved line. So let's get started on that. All right, so now it's time to cut in this little ledge that's gonna sit down in the sink. So I flipped this plug over, and so I'm gonna router out the bottom side. And so what I want to do is just take a little bit of this corner off so it'll fit down in the sink. And so I have these router bits that have a roller that, you know, is just going to guide along the edge here, and then this is going to eat out the plug some. So if you see that, this is going to be spinning, and I don't have to like measure anything to like try to do it by hand. This roller is going to guide it. So I'm going to try this with the router bit. I've got a bigger bit on there, and we're going to router it out. I have this clamped. You got to have it really nice and clamped well for using a router. Anyway, so let's try it out, and then we'll go test fit it. All right, so that's the corner cut out. I'm not sure if you can see that too well, but anyway, I was gonna kind of clean it up a little bit. The router kind of leaves a little bit of burrs here and there. So I'm gonna go plug this into the sink, see if it works. All right, well, I've learned two things after testing it out on the sink itself. Is I measured the radius, the inside of the sink, and not the outside. But so when I did the 3-inch diameter or 2 3/4 inch radius, about 5.5 inch diameter, I did it on the outside. Well, when you inset and cut this one, it's a smaller radius. So what happens is like it's kind of too pointed on the end, and the drill bit or the router bits that that would ride on this are riding on the outside. So I could take the outside down and then in turn take the inside, but I don't think I'm going to do that. I'm just going to keep routering just the inside and keep the top the same radius. It might be kind of confusing to understand without being here, but I have just a regular straight router bit, and I'm just going to by hand take out just a sliver here, and I think I'm a little long by maybe like 2 millimeters. So I am just taking out this length here. And I'm just going to do this by hand with the router. It's going to go pretty slow, and then I'll sand it a little bit. It does pretty good, but it leaves some kind of burrs sometimes, and it, I don't have the best router, and I'm not the best at it. So, so let's try this out. I'm going to cut a sliver out by hand, and it'll be on the underside. All right, fits like a glove. After 2 more tries of going back and forth with the router, finally was able to get it to fit. Some of this little radius here actually is not quite straight here. It kind of comes in a little on the side, so I had to router out a little more on the inside there. All right, so now I'm gonna sand this down, and then we'll polyurethane it just like we did this other countertop here. So hopefully it will all match, and that'll be it. So let's go back to the barn and get this cleaned up. All right, so here we are back at the camper and just putting it back in, and finished up covering it with some polyurethane, and ended up doing 3 coats on the top and 2 on the bottom. And in between each coat, I sanded it with 400 grit sandpaper, so it's really nice and smooth, and it's a nice hard finish on it. So just gonna keep an eye on it. If we like, I don't think we'll use it as a cutting board. Maybe we will, but if we do, just kind of watch on that, because it could, you know, kind of eat through that that finish over time. But I think I like it. It looks pretty good. It's kind of nice because it matches the grain of the countertop itself. Just kind of like fits right in. So I think this turned out pretty good. Took a couple of trial and errors to get the curve just right in the sink, and but I think it turned out pretty good. So I hope this helps you out with your project. If you're going to end up doing one of these, give you some more counter space in your RV, or whatever you're needing it for. But anyway, I appreciate you sticking around for this video, and I'll see you on the next one.